to order, unless that's the objection. Seeing none, the meeting is called to order. Councilman Ashton, can you lead us in the invocation and the pledge, please?
Sure. At this meeting, help us to make decisions which keep us faithful to our mission and reflect our values. Give us strength to hold to our purpose, wisdom to guide us, and a keen perception to lead us. And above all, keep us charitable as we deliberate. The pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't see any public comment cards, so we can move on to the public hearing. Sharon, you're going to read it? Okay, thank you.
Just got to get to a different place. An ordinance to impose license fees on insurers conducting business within the city of Dunwoody, Georgia, to impose a gross premiums tax on insurers operating within the state of Georgia, to provide an effective date, to repeal conflicting ordinances and other purposes.
Go ahead, Richard. Is your microphone on? Thank you. And if you could just speak into it, yes.
Absolutely. Good evening. I'm here to present a revision to the license fee ordinance for insurance companies. Under Georgia law, we are allowed to charge a flat fees to insurance companies. Municipalities are allowed to charge a flat fee to insurance companies within the city limits. It's based on population. Based on the 2020 census, our population is now over 50,000. So our flat fee can increase from $100 to now $150. This increase will lead to approximately $20,000 more in additional revenue. And if this passes, the effective date will be January 1st of 2022. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, it's a public hearing. So first, before we get comments or questions from council, I will ask if anyone would like to speak for this ordinance change. Seeing no one, I will ask if anyone would like to speak against this ordinance change. Seeing no one, I close the public hearing. All right, does anybody have questions or comments for Richard?
I mean, I know we can do this and it's definitely a boon to, is there any downside? Is there any con to the?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Right. And this is, the fee goes to the insurance companies, right?
Correct, yes.
And so they would have already been paying $100, I believe? Okay.
Correct, yes, they're paying $100. We bill it first of the year.
Okay.
And, it'll be $150 now.
Right. All right. Anybody else? John, you okay?
Yes, I have no issues. Insurance companies work under special rules for taxation back to municipalities. We're very lucky that we have State Farm, but that being said, we just get the same city share as everybody else. So this is the legislation that makes us whole for the percentage based on the amount of people. But again, every municipality gets the same amount proportion, even though we have State Farm that pays millions.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Move by Stacy, second by Tom. Any further discussion? John.
The first read.
No, we're on to the consent agenda. Did you miss that? I'm sorry, John.
Okay,
Did you not hear me? Sorry,
okay, I did not hear that.
moved
Thank
the
you.
Consent agenda.
Thank
Tom
you.
seconded. Okay. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously.
Moving to business items, number 7 is award of a construction contract for phase 1 of the Winters Chapel Path. Michael Smith.
Good evening. This item was discussed at the last council meeting, and just a couple of updates since that discussion. The numbers under funding were adjusted to reflect the latest. No major changes there, but that's the latest numbers. It's still within the project's still within the total there. And then there were a couple of questions at the last council meeting about, one was about adding a rapid flashing beacon at the proposed crosswalk. And what we did was we bumped up the contingency amount. We kept the contract amounts the same. That wasn't in the original contract, but we bumped up the contingency to account for that. We also, there was a question about in the future connecting our signal fiber to the intersection at Dunwoody Club. And with the money we've put into the contingency, we could put in the conduit to do that. It's not that expensive to put in the conduit, but we have a wireless modem in that signal now, so we can communicate with it. And ultimately, to run fiber to that signal, you'd have to go all the way back to Peeler at Tilly Mill Road and run fiber that whole distance. Ultimately, it'd probably be about $100,000 to do that. So we do have money. We can put the conduit in here, but we can communicate to it now. And I think, from a cost standpoint, it probably makes sense long-term to just stay with the wireless option there. But we'll go either way on that, whatever council wants to do.
Anybody have questions or comments? Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Michael. As you know, I'm very excited to get this one going. So on the conduit itself, so the light is functioning. I mean, there's no advantage to running fiber as opposed to the way it's set up now. And and I know when we first started having these conversations, technology is always evolving quickly. So I don't see, unless there's another potential future use for having that conduit in the ground. I mean, I don't know that it's a necessity. I don't know if there would be any other future use for that.
Probably not. So yeah, if council is okay with staying with the wireless option of that signal, we would probably leave that out.
So from your professional experience, the wireless is sufficient?
Yes, we haven't had any problems with it. We can see and communicate like we can with the others. And being that it's somewhat an isolated signal, it's not as critical. If we did lose communication, it's not as critical because it's not really coordinated with any other signals around it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Lynn, this is John. I have one
Sorry,
quick.
John.
I want to thank Michael for the lit crosswalk at Congregation. I think it'd be very helpful to the community, and I do appreciate you finding the money and shuffling money into put in that amenity. So thank you for adding that.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Tom, second by Joe. Any further questions or discussion? Just thank you. Very excited to get this started and then finish. Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Or raise your hand. Sorry, I forgot about John. Any opposed? Sharon, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Item number 8 is award of professional service contract to Livable Centers Initiative. Michael Starling.
Thank you. Good evening. As a reminder, earlier this year, the City of Dunwoody and PCID applied for a grant through the Atlanta Regional Commission. We received that grant. It's to update the vision for our portion of Perimeter Center. $120,000 from ARC, $30,000 match from the city. The City Council approved earlier this summer the $30,000 match. We did an RFP earlier this summer. Small team, we had 2 qualified responders. Small team has chosen Ponding Company is our bidder. We did have some questions last week about public engagement. We know this can be and probably will be a bit controversial with some of the items that we're going to talk about. The group that selected Pond and Company felt the same way, and we actually chose them because we felt like they had the best plan to engage the community and really walk us through a conversation. Andrew Core with Pond is here to introduce himself, introduce the team that he has put together, and answer any questions. But what I would like to say is, we are not planning to hand this over to Pond and just sort of sit back and let them do their work. The city staff, our resources, along with the PCID, will be there throughout the entire process. And so we really see this as a sort of a co-lead between Pond and Company and ourselves. But with that, I'll let Andrew introduce himself and then we'll take questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Again, my name is Andrew Core, Director of Landscape Architecture at Pond and Company. I'm serving as the project manager for this project. We have a core team that'll be working on this, a couple of key planners who are very much specialized in scenario planning, as well as 2 key partners. One is MXD Development Consultants, who we've worked with a number of times. They're from Vancouver, Canada. And we also have Blue Cypress consultants who are handling and will kind of lead the public engagement effort along with Pond. So it's a team that's worked together well before. We're currently working on other projects together in the Atlanta metro area, and we have a good comfort level working with one another. So we also, team members who have previously worked in and around Dunwoody are currently working with Dunwoody now. Pond's doing several projects in the area. So we have a good understanding of the community. So we feel like we're looking forward to taking this on and having a good community conversation about the future of the perimeter area. So I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Anybody have questions? Tom.
Yes, thank you. This could be for both of you and Michael. First of all, Michael, thank you and your team. I'm very excited about this. I think this is important, and I can't wait to see what we get out of this. I do have one question. It was in Pond's proposal. It's in 2 spots on page 33 and page 34. I'll just read it, probably be easiest, and then I'll ask the question. It speaks of these new development practices should emulate the city's 4 defined sub areas for the perimeter center. And then on page 34, it says how to appropriately, I'm sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. How to appropriately apportion future development within the 4 sub areas. And my question is, this makes it sound like we're building off of our current perimeter center overlay, and I'm hoping that's not, that we're thinking much broader than that, because I think we've learned there are some major deficiencies in the current perimeter center overlay. There are things that we've already outgrown or that we'd like to see different. So I want to be cautious that we're not trying to build around an existing perimeter center. In fact, I would prefer that we start with a blank slate and not be confined or limited or constrained by that overlay. That's my opinion. I don't know if it's shared by anyone else, but I don't want it to copy what's there. I want it to be bigger, bolder, better.
So one thing, what we're creating is not going to be a replacement to the zoning. It's much broader than that. It really is a vision. I'll look back at that language, but I think we're both on the same page as that this is a new conversation and we're really going to start there. We need to look back at what's been done, and I think there's probably a lot from the overlay that we can learn from, good and bad, but this is a new conversation, and so the vision is not going to fit into those very specific boxes.
Yeah, just to add to that, it's really just a response to what's previously been done to understand the context of where we're going, but we're really working at fresh eyes and approach. So we're not trying to match anything previously. We're just being responsive to what's out there, what's been done previously.
Yeah, that was my hope. I just wanted to make sure, because, when it said to emulate the current, I just wanted to make sure we weren't just trying to copy what's already there.
Joe.
Have you worked with the other CIDs in the region?
Yes, we're currently working with the perimeter CID now. I work with Central Atlanta Progress. We work with airport CIDs south. We worked a number of them. It was just a couple.
I read about the Cumberland CID in the news lately. They're going to try to do a little, what is it? A unmanned little shuttle circular thing, autonomous.
Like a micro mobility shuttle. Yeah, like unmanned.
Yeah, and I'm always a pragmatic too. I'm looking at stuff that we can do in the next 5 years and not aspirational. There's always good aspirational, but I would look at that, but that would require a lot of real estate too, right? It's interesting idea. I like the idea of a circulator, everybody hopping in, hopping off, something frequent to help people. But anyway, there's a lot of good opportunities we can start with. So thank you.
John?
Yes, thank you. The city of Dunwoody has a housing issue in the sense of the lack of single level living for seniors. Namely, there's a lack of owner occupied multifamily in the perimeter area. And our proposal, our RFP, as well as maybe your proposal, doesn't mention much about that. I want to make sure that that I tell you that that's a need, and that I'm hoping that some of your discussions and your public outreach will include some of that topic.
It will, and just to speak to that, you can't do any really market analysis without addressing housing as a significant land use typology. So it's going to be one of number that we're going to look at and what's happening in the area. So yeah, we'll be looking at that.
Will your research also show the fundraising or the funding of condo versus multifamily? Is there any solutions to be had in the sense of the funding aspect of condos?
We won't go to that level of detail. We'll look at kind of the realities of what the market demand is for each of those different types. We let the kind of the numbers, I see the analysis, kind of speak for that, and then observe and understand what it's saying. So we don't have a predisposition to any one land use type or others. What we can tell you is, though, where we've done this elsewhere, a diversity of housing type is critical, and we understand. To your comment about a lack of a couple of different housing typologies, those. We're not immune to that, and that's not uncommon what we've heard. So we're aware of that. And that'll be
well, thank you. You've answered my question, but really when it comes to the mix of housing types, we have a glut of multifamily rental. So this council, or at least myself, may not be interested in multifamily rental. So I want to make sure that you're aware of that going into the project. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? So I want to talk a little bit or a lot about citizen engagement. Sure. So we have approximately 6,000 to 8,000 Dunwoody residents that live in the perimeter area. And we have never been successful, despite some efforts, with outreach. For example, we did a park survey, and I thought we did a really nice effort in reaching out to the people that lived in multifamily housing, and yet less than 1% of our survey responses came from them. And so you don't have to tell me today, but this project, from my perspective, won't succeed unless we find a way to reach the people that live here. And I think there's a lot of perception amongst the community that many of the residents in Perimeter Center are highly transient. But I suspect that what we're going to find, or what we would find if we did a deep dive, is yes, some are highly transient, but there are many, many people who make this area their home for many years. And so I would say I would challenge you, but I'm going to say I expect y'all to figure out how to get into the apartment complexes, for example. How, we have some challenges because we don't have a park yet here where you can randomly meet people, but how are we going to assess what the people who live here already and make this area their home feel about what should happen here? So I think it's really important that y'all strategize and dedicate the resources necessary. We're pretty good at reaching the rest of our community for input. They find us, but this particular segment, which is what we're working on, I think it's really important. So
we certainly understand that. It does take a village to reach out to a number of different people. So there's no one size fits all to community engagement. What you do in Dunwoody is different than what you would do in Clarkston, which is different than what you do in Johns Creek. Right. South Atlanta. So our goal is to really create a tailored approach, and you have a number of different segments you want to target, and you address them differently. Right. And so we're aware of that, and we accept the challenge, and we'll do the best we can.
Thank you. Okay. So this is an action item.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Joe, second by Artie. Any further discussion or questions, anybody? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye, or raise your hand. Any opposed? Seeing none, this passes.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
The next item is a second read of a consideration of a text amendment to amend the standards for the entertainment districts. And this will be Richard instead of Madeline.
Good evening. This is the second read of the text amendment for to add the entertainment district to perimeter. There were 3 areas that we added. Up in the northern section, we've added a crosswalk to connect the 2 entertainment districts. On the southwest corner, we've added the area around Henneman Drive, around the MARTA station. And we did not include the MARTA station. And then on the northeast side, we added a connection across the perimeter center to capture the Red House Taqueria, who we met there last week, and he wanted to be added. So I said, good time. So, so those 3 areas are added to this map.
All right. Anybody have questions? I see John shaking his head no. Anybody? Stacy?
Is there a reason why we didn't go on the south side of Hammond Drive and tie into the couple of the restaurants there in the State Farm building?
They're just opening. So I don't know if State Farm wants
that yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. Okay.
And I will say we see it working in the village already. So this is exciting stuff. Anybody else? Questions?
Move to approve.
Moved by Tom.
Second.
Second by Joe. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing none, the motion carries.
Item number 10 is a resolution to declare city police vehicle and IT equipment as surplus. Richard Plato.
Good evening. This is the request to declare a surplus property of 1 police vehicle, as well as some obsolete IT equipment, and to authorize the city manager to dispose of it in the most cost-effective manner. In this case, for the police vehicle, we do have a letter of intent to purchase from Reinhardt University Department of Public Safety to purchase that vehicle for $10,000. Thank you.
Anybody have questions? Joe, go ahead.
Do we consider for the IT equipment donating to local nonprofits or families in need or anything? What do we do? What do we do with that stuff, and do we consider that?
So that's a good question, and I'll have to ask Ginger about that. Well, obviously, you saw some hard drives and stuff like that in there. We'll obviously wipe all of those clean before they get disposed of, and I'm not sure what can and cannot be reused, and I'll let Ginger answer part of that.
Hi. So we had actually previously discussed with some of our other stuff about like donation or something, but most of the stuff that we are ready to surplus is, I don't know that anybody get a lot of use out of it at this point. So I don't know that donating it would really be beneficial, but I can look into that a little bit more.
Okay. I mean, yeah, if it works and if it has a current OS or even monitors, I mean, those things, little things.
They're all Windows 7 machines.
Oh boy.
Yeah. so at this point,
yeah.
They're kind of obsolete.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Ginger.
Well, we maybe move slowly. Anybody have any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Stacy, second by Artie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, signify by raising your hands.
Aye.
Aye. Or whatever, that's unanimous.
Item number 11 is a project closeout for capital, SPLOST, and hotel motel funds. That's also Richard Plato.
So periodically, we work with city staff to reconcile and close out capital projects and identify which projects can be closed out. When we reconcile, we're making sure all invoices are paid, projects have been completed to our satisfaction. There are no more outstanding invoices, no more items, invoices expected or anything. That project's eligible to be closed out. And that's what this agenda item is presenting to you, projects that can be closed, as well as a reallocation of some of those items, some of those dollars.
Thank you. Anyone have questions? Joe, go ahead.
Hey, Richard, can you kind of dumb it down for me? Is there, I'm always interested in unallocated surpluses of finding extra funds, right? Bottom line, did we have extra unallocated, and did it go, where did it go, in general fund or where's that? And what is that here on that list? I'm just kind of reading the.
So this totals to, it's allocating, we've done the pluses and minuses all equal zero.
Yeah,
yeah. So we're closing out certain projects and reallocating to additional projects, but there is no money freed up, for lack of a better word, or anything like that.
Okay, that's all right. Appreciate that. Thanks.
Anybody else? John.
Yes, I was looking at the road resurfacing. If you could just remind us where that money, excess money came from, the money not allocated or not spent. How did that happen?
I'll let Michael speak to that.
He's gonna
Yes. We had a surplus in road resurfacing that, every year we build in contingency, and it's, for a $3 million contract, it ends up being $200,000 or $300,000. If we don't spend all that contingency, it starts building up. And for the last couple of years, we've planned to take that surplus and reallocate it to pay for the paving on some of these other projects. If you look at, for example, under the capital projects, the first table, the Winters Chapel, $375,000 being added, that's basically taking money out of the road resurfacing to pay for the paving on the Winters Chapel project. So,
all right. So long story short, Michael, it sounds like we didn't extend the contract. We normally have that excess funds would then be rolled over into new streets at the end of the contract term. We didn't do that this year.
We did not add any streets this year. We have in previous years. We have some next year that are listed as optional that we're going to want to add. But yeah, this is some unspent money that we then plan to allocate to paving on some of these sidewalk and bike projects.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it's just the fact we didn't roll it over this year like we have in the past. So that answers my question. Thank you, sir.
And Michael, sometimes they can't, it's at the pleasure of the paving company, right? What they can add. I know that a couple of years ago, they had literally 1 week left. They could do what they could get accomplished in 5 days or something, right?
Right.
Okay. Stacy.
So with the reallocation, we have our capital improvement project. Does this move anything up? Are we going to get anything done faster?
The only thing really new on here is the Chamblee-Dunwoody Bridge enhancement, which is, that's already been approved to do that design,
right.
But everything else on here was, add either taking money surpluses from projects that we're done with now, or adding money to projects that we need to add to keep them going.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. This is an action item.
Move to approve.
Moved by Joe.
Second.
Second by Tom. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously.
Item 12 is municipal services contract, facilities management cancellation, extension of various maintenance contracts on a month-to-month basis. Jay Benecke.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item and the next one are kind of cleanup amendments from the budget that was passed at the last meeting. There were certain things that were discussed in the budget that will affect us on January 1st, and we're asking authorization to get the work done on that. The first one is to cancel the contract with RGR Management, who has been for the past 3 years the overseer of this building, along with the annex and the Spruill Arts Center. Part of it is we've added a new position within Parks, which will essentially create a redundancy there. So I want to state on the record that the cancellation and the recommendation for this is not based off the service of RGRE. And I want the record to state that they've done an above board job on this, and I could recommend them for other things, but we are canceling it because the business model doesn't work anymore. So I'd ask first for authorization for us to cancel that contract. And the second is our contract structure with them allowed them to have a lot of on-call subs for different things we needed HVAC repair that we may not have authorization for the last time we bid it out. So I'd like authorization for anybody we've used with them in the past year, which I've listed the list in there, for us to continue for the next 6 months until we can work that in. And that's the first of the 2 items.
Any questions? Tom?
I'm sure you guys have done this, but I'll just ask the question anyway. Is there anything we have to do with the subs as far as insurance or anything like that with the change of the man who's?
We'll take care of that when we start to do any on-call work with them.
Okay, thank you.
Are they ever going to come fix my air conditioner? Just wondering. I figure if I put you on the spot publicly, just kidding.
Your parts are in the mail. That's what I can say.
Right. That was, yes. Yeah, we're on month 5. Soon I'm going to need heat. All right. Any other questions? Seeing none.
Move to approve.
Moved by Tom. Second by Artie. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor signify by raising your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, hearing none, or seeing none, that passes unanimously. Sharon.
Thank you.
Item 13 is authorization to amend existing contracts for items approved in the fiscal year 2022 budget, including right-of-way maintenance, code enforcement, and parks operations. Jay Vanicki.
This is kind of an aggregator of all the things where we're amending or expanding existing contracts. None are new. They're just amending what we currently are doing. To go through them all fairly quickly because we've discussed them through the budget process. The first is adding a right-of-way crew for next year for the Tri-Skates contract. I like to call it 3 men in a truck. It may not be 3 men, it may not be the full truck, but something along those lines. The second thing is the previous, we mentioned the Parks Facilities Coordinator will actually take the current facilities/grounds, split it into 2 positions, which I think for the amount of real estate that we have now is a great move. The third one is the addition of 1 code compliance officer that'll start on January 1st through the collaborative. And the fourth is the expansion of 1 part-time recreational leader to full-time, full year round instead of part-time. And that's just expansion of what we're doing this year and we want to codify it that way.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Moved by John.
Second.
Second by Artie. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, I call the question. All in favor signify by raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? None. Sharon, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you.
Item 14 is approval of 2022 budget purchase for police vehicles. Chief Grogan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item you have before you is related to the 2022 budget that was approved recently. It's the ability for us to go ahead and enter the purchase orders for the vehicles that we need next year. Ford has a deadline of November the 11th. We have to get the purchases in order to order these vehicles and have them delivered next year. And even then, we probably won't get them till summertime or maybe later, depending on chips and things like that. So with that, I'm asking for your approval and I'll answer any questions you may have.
Does anybody have questions? Stacy.
I thought that the budget amount was 500,000 and this is 554. Like, do we know where the other 54,000 is coming from?
There was some money already currently in the budget.
Okay.
As well.
Okay, cool. All right.
Anybody else?
It's nice to see hybrid vehicles.
Yes. Yes.
Move to approve.
Moved by Stacy.
Second.
Second by Artie. Any further discussion? Any further discussion or comments? And these come fully equipped the way you need
we
it.
have to outfit.
Oh, we outfit them. Okay.
That includes the outfit.
But that includes the outfitting.
Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
when you get them, then there's still a time.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, all in favor signify by raising your hand or saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, Sharon, that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Moving to discussion, discussion of projects for the Atlanta Regional Commission 2022 Transportation Improvement Plan call for projects. Michael Smith.
The Atlanta Regional Commission is seeking project proposals for federal funding over the next several years, transportation projects. And the memo outlines, some of the criteria, primary criteria they're going to be looking at. And so we've reviewed that and looked at, the top prioritized projects the city has based on recent review by the Transportation Plan Review Committee. And we're recommending that we submit the phase 2 of the Winters Chapel Path project as one of our projects that has several advantages. I think that it's multi-jurisdictional with Peachtree Corners. I do have a call into Peachtree Corners to make sure that they're on board with supporting that. And it also potentially, I think the ARC wants to prioritize projects that connect the region, not just local projects. And I think we can make the case that that is a link regionally between Path 400 and Gwinnett County, which is one of the links that they are looking for. And it also is a MARTA route. The second one is the Village Crossroad Chamblee Dunwoody improvements through the village that we will be presenting publicly for comment soon. It's a concept for that project. And we have the design funded for that. So this would be asking for some construction funds in, the latter part of say 2025, which is, they're looking for projects from 2023 to 2025. So those are the two projects we're proposing. If the council's in agreement with that, the next meeting will have resolutions of support that we will need to submit to ARC when we submit our applications that are due in early December.
Right. This is just a discussion. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, Michael, when we submitted, when do we find out results? How long does that take?
Usually it takes several months. It may be next spring, and then there's a process of getting it getting under contract with GDOT. So, these are, and also by going into the federal funding process, I mean, we won't be seeing these projects built for, 3 years at least, probably. So, it is a little bit of an extended timeline.
Yeah, I mean, we did some of that for the Georgetown Gateway. That was some
Yes.
federal funding too, right?
Yeah.
Are we asking for a dollar amount on either of these two, or?
We will, and we'll have that in the resolution when we bring it back. I mean, the maximum that we can get is 80% federal. So, but the more the city can put towards it, the more competitive it will probably be. So we'll take a look at that and bring back a recommendation.
It's kind of like we got to walk and chew gum at the same time, because the Chamblee Dunwoody corridor is still kind of moving. But I'm all for burying the utilities and whatever it takes to make that the highest quality project. So yeah, I hope we can back into some real world number.
Yeah, I should add too that neither one of these projects is currently funded by the city in our 5-year plan. So this would allow, even though it is a longer process with the federal money, it would allow us to move forward because we don't have these projects budgeted to happen in the next 5 years right now.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Stacy.
So I've learned that I can never be a public works director because I don't have the patience at all for this. So you said that we can only go up to 80% federal. So we would have to fund 20% ourselves.
Yeah.
So, because I don't have patience for long-term projects, could we use that 20% you know, if we get it, to then do the right-of-way requirement and the utility relocation and all those nasty words that tend to extend a project? Or how does the timeline work with what we could do? And could we do some of the pre-work with our money so then it wouldn't take quite so long with federal dollars?
We would propose to do that. We did that on Georgetown Gateway. The city paid, we did use some federal money for design, but we paid for all the right-of-way. And we would propose to do that here too. It's probably more efficient to do it that way. But when you use federal money for the construction, everything has to go through GDOT and be approved by GDOT. So that plan development process usually takes 18 to 24 months, even if you're using your own money.
And everything takes so much longer than people expected to. Anybody else? Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Yeah, I'm again excited about this. You know, both of these projects I think are very important. As far as Winters Chapel goes, as you know, I've been having a lot of discussions with one of my counterparts in Peachtree Corners, and firmly believe he's on board and trying to get them to get on board because it is multi-jurisdictional. I think it's a great application of this opportunity here. If for some reason, will that complicate things at all? Do they have to be a part of the application as well, or since we're taking the lead, are we able to submit everything?
We can submit everything, but you know, ideally we'd get a letter of support from them, which will help boost our application, I think. And I haven't heard back from them yet, but I don't expect that they wouldn't support it. We submitted this a couple of years ago with their support, and there wasn't much money given out that time, so we didn't get anything. But Peachtree Corners has supported submitting this in the past.
And then if for some reason, and I don't expect this because as you said, they've supported this in the past, and I believe they'll support it now based on my conversations I've had with some of their council members. But if for some reason that changes, I know we have a sort of a plan B for phase 2 that we would not be reliant on Peachtree Corners. Would that also apply? Would we be able to still move forward with this under the terms of these grants with our plan B?
We would, you know, it would still be a qualifying project. Because that one would go, the plan B you're talking about would possibly go more off the right of way. That might get a little more complicated with federal money and right of way, but it's possible.
Okay, well, hopefully plan A works. and I'm pretty confident it will, but thank you. Thank you for both of these projects. I think hopefully we'll be successful.
John.
Thank you, Michael. I'm interested in the Winters Chapel in the sense of, is there any way in which we can tie in the Peachtree Industrial Corridor so that we can get it over to Tilly Mill? Is there any path aspects to partnering with Doraville in order to facilitate a path in that direction as part of this project?
Well, the phase 2 we're talking about would go from Charmont to Peeler. So we weren't really, because the south of the reservoir, everything is, the right of way is actually in Peachtree Corners. So we weren't really planning to go south of Peeler because most of that's out of the city. So it would be, you know, we'd probably have to submit as a separate project if we wanted to do something along Peachtree Industrial. And I mean, there is
an opportunity to do that. If we have the bandwidth, I'd love to take a look at it and see what we can do. That's a gateway to our city that's underserved and might hit some of the metrics for this application.
Okay.
I think final question. I know we have had lots of conversations regarding, I guess it's the North Side Connector. That's been in the tip in the past, has it not? And what is it? What's the status of that being added now?
The connector at Ashford Dunwoody?
Yes, sir.
Yes. We've been looking at other options for that recently because of the the development on the corner and the managed lanes that are coming. There's just not enough real estate there for what we wanted to do. We could, you know what, we could consider submitting something for that, but we're still trying to, you know, develop what the plan for that is. So I don't know if we're really ready to submit anything on that without having a concrete plan. We're meeting with GDOT here in the next few weeks to talk about it, but that may be a little premature on that one.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate the answers.
So the to get from Peeler to PIB, you're saying most of the sidewalks are also in Peachtree Corners on both sides?
Yes, once you get south of the reservoir, that's all Peachtree Corners on both sides.
Well, we can converse with them. And the mayors, the top end mayors, of which Peachtree Corners is not exactly one, have been working, you know, we funded a path design to go across the top end and connect us all like to Doraville and all that. So we should probably bring Peachtree Corners in to that discussion as well. So, all right. Anybody else have anything? And so when will we see this in 2 weeks for the resolution?
Yes.
And then what happens if money we apply and, you know, 6 months from now we get the grant, but they're so slow and we find funding for part of or one of these other projects? Not that that necessarily is even a realistic question, but what happens if it happens? Are we allowed to back out of the grant?
Yes. I mean, you don't want to do that too often,
right?
But you can do that.
Right. Just particularly with Winter's Chapel, it would be nice just to get it all done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easier to remove yourself from the process than to try to get into it after you've already started.
Okay. And I don't know where this money would come from. I was just asking. All right. Anybody else? So we'll see you with this in a few weeks.
Yes.
Thank you, Michael.
That's exciting.
It's really exciting. Okay. Now, public comments. I don't see any. City manager comments.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. We will need an executive session tonight for litigation/personnel.
Okay. Council comments. Anybody? Right, go ahead.
Kind of following up with Michael Smith on what's happening. If people follow in the news, the federal law, the Transportation Investment Act passed as well. So me personally, you know, I just reached out to our counterpart at Atlanta Regional Commission to find out, you know, if they're going to have a checklist of what things that we can also take advantage of, right? So there's it's not only just infrastructure, there's some programming funds, there's some planning funds, Safe Streets, Vision Zero, Safe Routes to School. They talk about vulnerable road users even in that act, and as well just the bike ped non-motorized thing. So I definitely look forward, and I hope that we can you know, we'll get some information soon. And yeah, it may take a while, but you know, especially if it's planning dollars, where hey, here's some funding to create a plan. I know Macon Bibb County got a federal grant before this one was even to develop their Vision Zero Safe Streets plan. So anyway, just folks, I'm excited to know that we're hopefully that'll trickle down to us. So thank you.
Anybody else? Thursday, November 11th, this Thursday at 10 a.m. at Brook Run is our annual Veteran Day ceremony at the Veteran Memorial at the front of the park. We hope people will join us. And that's all I have. So I need a motion.
And Friday night, I'm sorry, Friday night, the rescheduled.
Oh, right. I forgot. Friday night is the rescheduled trunk or treat at Brook Run Park. I believe it starts at 7. But look for D News. But it's Friday night, wear your costumes, and there'll be candy. It's going to be awesome.
And a live concert in the amphitheater.
Yeah. Is it in the amphitheater? Okay. A live concert in the amphitheater, and it's an Elton John cover band, which is awesome. So even if it's a little chilly, you can bring a blanket. It's going to be a great night. So, all right. Thank you for that. Anybody else? So we need executive session.
Move to exit to executive session for purposes of litigation and personnel.
Second.
Moved by Tom and seconded by Artie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we are going to executive session. We'll be back.
Thank you, Ginger.
Sorry if you were waiting for a while.
No, we just ended executive session. I'm really down in a few minutes. I just needed to say something. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered. But thank you.
Good job, Edith.
I don't think that, John, can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay, sorry. I guess it does matter. The mic's on. I heard you had something you wanted to say.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Prior to council comments, I forgot one item that I wanted to bring to staff's attention. I'd like to publicly ask the staff to review our fireworks ordinance and to review it for allowing other cultural and religious holiday traditions. We've had some experience in the last week or two of fireworks, and I'm understanding that they don't meet our code. And I'd like staff to review other cultural and religious holiday traditions that use fireworks to maybe be inclusive.
All right, we got that. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Artie. Second by Stacy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. And thank you all for a very productive meeting.